is up, everybody? Welcome back to the Underdogs podcast. We are back, episode number 17. It's been a while, but we're here. As always, my name is Jordan Daly. We got Craig Smith, Mike Taylor, and a special guest. Craig, I'm going to pass it off to you to introduce him.
Yes, sir. This is the Underdogs podcast. Please subscribe below. But today we got a great NFL guest today. Yes, the NFL is in the building today. We got an 8-year vet in Jordan Norwood, which is the Super Bowl 50 champion. He's also an NFT founder in the Big Three. Penn State guy. So, I mean, he's Big Ten, but he's cool. Give it up for Jordan Norwood. What's up, my guy? Welcome to the Underdogs podcast.
Hey, I appreciate y'all for having me. Appreciate the platform. And what's wrong with the Big Ten?
Ain't no wrong with the Big Ten. I just never got to be a part of the Big Ten ACC Challenge. Actually, I did, though. Actually, I did. My senior year. We played Michigan State, though.
Okay.
We ended up losing to them, but it was a hard fought battle. But I ain't gonna lie. I always liked Penn State, though. I thought y'all had like a different swagger, especially like in my era. So like it's all love for sure.
Hey, I appreciate it. Definitely a different swagger at Penn State. With football for sure. Basketball is a little different, but again, I appreciate y'all for having me.
Yeah, Craig's a BC legend over there, Hall of Famer.
What years were you at BC?
So I was at BC from 02 to 06. Okay. Some people who are a part of my era was Jared Dudley. Also had a guy by the name of Tyrese Rice, and another guy by the name of Sean Williams.
Okay, bet.
Better collective group. We're really good, but yeah. That Northeast, man, you know, it's cold.
Hey, I already know that much. That's why people are surprised when they get out to Denver and realize how warm it is here. But Denver is a lot better winters than, Pennsylvania or BC. Goodness, Chicago. Yeah. Denver's way better.
All right, so let's get into your upbringing a little bit. I know it says you was born in Hawaii. Just kind of talk about your household, how you grew up, you know what I'm saying, some of the challenges, some of the, you know what I'm saying, the adversities that you kind of faced. And then kind of, I know it said you was in Pennsylvania for high school, but like, what was your transition? When did you leave Hawaii? When did you, you know what I'm saying? Just give us that backstory.
So, yeah, I mean, my upbringing, just like everybody else, shaped a lot of the way I see the world, the way I compete when it comes to sports. But yeah, born in Hawaii, son of a college football player at the time. My dad played college football at University of Hawaii. Met my mom in Hawaii when he was in high school. My dad's father was in the military. That's how he got to Hawaii. So anyways, yeah, born in Hawaii. My dad was playing college football. I'm Black and Filipino, so my entire Filipino side of the family, for the most part, is in Hawaii. And then from there, just kind of bounced around. My dad, after he finished playing, he went to Canada for a little bit, and then he got into coaching. So he coached college football. He still coaches college football. He coaches at UCLA right now, so he's out in LA also. But he's coached all over the place. So between Hawaii and high school for me, so between Hawaii and Pennsylvania, we were at University of Arizona, University of Richmond, Texas Tech, Penn State, the Naval Academy in Annapolis, Maryland. So bounced around quite a bit growing up. And for me, that was probably one of the biggest challenges, honestly, being undersized. I graduated high school at 5'9", 145 pounds. So being very undersized, especially when it comes to football, right? But having to, move around and then prove myself again, move here, then prove myself again. That part was probably the biggest challenge. And then, I mean, even for my older brother, he played college basketball. He played at George Mason. He's a part of our NFT founder group too, but he actually went to 5 high schools. So he moved high schools every single year. And so that was tough for him to get recruited. Great basketball player. He's still playing. He plays overseas. He's been playing overseas for 16 years in Manila. So those are some that's pretty much my upbringing. Was a lot of travel, a lot of different cultures within that. But then just a lot of football and basketball.
But let's just talk about for travel comes, because I know we touched up in Dallas, and you were saying you kind of travel a lot. Is that kind of where that came from?
Yeah, I have a hard time staying put, right? So yeah, my wife and I have married, have a 6 and a 5-year-old here in Denver, but every summer we throw our house on Airbnb and we just go. We get up and y'all caught me in Denver. I wasn't here yesterday. I won't be here tomorrow. but yeah, we just get up and go. See the country, see the world, see our families. We don't have family here in Denver, so that's the kind of the way I move.
And I think it's a good thing, like going through that early, having to make adjustments on the fly, having to be find your comfort in uncomfortable situations. I think that was probably a big key for you and continue to give you more confidence as you got older, going into your fields.
Oh, absolutely. Absolutely. I mean, as I think about both my college career and my NFL career, it was, riddled with injuries. Like I said, I was 5'9", 150 pounds soaking wet coming out of high school. So, I mean, a lot of uncertainty there. Am I good enough to play at this level? All of those things, I think part of my, my upbringing and bouncing around and having to reintroduce myself and reinvent myself over and over was something that really helped me along the way. And, was able to, push through being undrafted and into an 8-year NFL career too. So
absolutely.
So you're in high school in Pennsylvania. You were a 2-sport athlete in high school, right? Football and basketball.
Right. Yeah.
So what was that recruiting process like? Did you kind of know football was what you wanted to do? When did the recruiting start, and how did that play out for you?
Yeah, I wasn't very highly recruited. Like I said, just undersized was the basic story, right? I did get, one of my few offers was to Bucknell to play football and basketball. So I almost went to Bucknell to play football and basketball. My dad was on the coaching staff at Penn State at the time, and he himself kind of removed himself from the recruiting process. But Joe Paterno, who was the head coach at Penn State at the time, basically wanted me there. He said, "Hey, Jordan, him and the wide receivers coach at the time, Kenny Carter, basically said, hey, you're good enough to play at this level. We've seen what you can do, not only on the football field, but in basketball too. And, we want you here regardless, setting your dad being a coach here aside, we want you to be a part of this, football program. So yeah, with my only other offer being Bucknell, I went to Penn State, questioning myself if I could even play at that level. With half of the coaching staff at Penn State saying Jordan probably is only coming to Penn State because his dad's on the coaching staff here. But I ended up doing what's called gray shirting, which I sat out a year and got in the weight room a little bit, which I had never done before, clearly. Ended up playing as a freshman the next year and playing all 4 years. And, having a solid career and, thinking I was going to get drafted after that and not getting drafted, but still being able to, keep pushing, tag along, make a few rosters, get cut several times, have a few injuries, and, find myself 8 years later being able to retire on my own accord from the NFL. So definitely a blessed career. And it started with Joe Paterno, giving me that opportunity that, not many people, not even myself, I didn't even know if I deserved it myself, but Joe's somebody that will hold a special place in my heart for sure because of that. And he even gave me the opportunity to play basketball. So I played basketball at Penn State too, just 1 year of basketball there. And that was a treasure for my time there too.
Yeah, I mean, keeping things positive. He was a legendary coach. Like that must have been.
Yeah, he's not a regular coach.
That must have been amazing to kind of play under and like learn from him and like, yeah.
One of the elites.
Yeah, just incredible. I mean, the way his mind worked. I mean, to walk onto the practice field and see this dude yelling at people at 82 years old, running up and down the field. Just not many coaches are like that at all. And not many people are like that. Just somebody that just has this brain that remembers people, which is crazy. I mean, he probably wouldn't be on the podcast, but he would meet somebody and see them again, months down the road and remember notes from, their conversation. I haven't seen that in very many people.
And being cool enough to let you do another sport. I tried to play football, and Al Skinner wasn't playing that shit. Like he was just like, "Oh well, you want to transfer?" I was like, "Wow!" And for me, it would have been cool because I had Matt Ryan, I had Matthias Kiwanuka played defense, and then Will Blackman. So I was very familiar with those guys, and plus I wanted to see like how it would fit me playing football. But yeah, my coach set that shit all the way down. So that's love. That like your coach just like he gave you the freeway for that. That was love.
Yeah, it definitely was. And in hindsight, I'm thinking maybe Joe had a conversation with the basketball coach and was like, "You better not put this man in the game," because I sure enough I played only garbage minutes. We didn't win one game. I mean, Penn State basketball, we weren't great. I came onto the team, after into Big Ten play at that point after the football season. We didn't win one game. I played garbage minutes, going there and foul real quick, Jordan. But I had a great time. It was, times I'll never forget. So,
and I'm gonna be honest, football players foul harder. So for the viewers, like when Jordan going in there, he going in there to fuck somebody up. Excuse my language, but he going there, So
exactly.
Kudos.
Right.
That's just love, man. Getting to play your two passions, and being able to do that in college, like that's something I always wish I can do. So like that was dope.
Right. Yeah, it was a blessing.
Let's talk about the draft combine now. Let's talk about after college and then the draft night. Like, how was that process? Getting invited to the draft combine? Like, was the NFL always in your head in the back? I mean, in the back of your mind at the end of the day? Just since you were a kid or anything like that, like you ever thought like, wow, like I want to go to the NFL, and now this is the opportunity that's happened.
Yeah, I guess it never was really, to be honest. Maybe it was kind of deep in the back of my mind, but it wasn't like this very tangible goal or expectation that I had. It wasn't until my senior year in college that I was like, you know what? I mean, I've been playing we went to the Orange Bowl and the Rose Bowl and played in some pretty big games and did well, obviously. I knew I was a good athlete. But I'm like, wait, am I going to go to the NFL after this? Is that like what's next? So yeah, and as I approached the NFL, we had two other wide receivers actually that were also like 5'11", the same size as me, smaller guys. We were all seniors, and those two guys actually ended up getting drafted early in like the third round. And I was like, oh, okay, boom. I'm up next, fourth or fifth round.
Yeah.
I'll go. But yeah, I mean, I think, obviously everything happens for a reason, right? And thinking back on the draft combine, that didn't go very well for me. I'm not a weightlifter. I'm not a numbers dude. I'm not even gonna go run like a 4.3 40. I'm like more of a quick guy. I think like my 10-yard time is one of the tops at the combine, but after 10 yards that motor starts slowing down quite a bit. So yeah, it was a lot of gas went out of my kind of excitement during the draft, watching the draft and rounds go by and your name not get called. But after the NFL draft, quickly after, there's teams calling, hey, we want you to come in as a undrafted free agent. And I picked up the call and decided to go to Cleveland for that, and ended up getting cut there. But it all happens, and just got to keep playing.
Okay, so I know a lot of fans or a lot of people that kind of watch us as athletes kind of look at us as these physical specimens, and a lot of the mental that goes on in being an athlete and being criticized and you being undersized and stuff like that. Can you kind of like walk us through some of those things that kind of like shifted your mindset and altered the way that you kind of thought of yourself? Because, coming from high school, being a multiple athlete and being, doing your thing in that realm, and, being in college and still being able to, be, stand out in your career. And now you're looking at this pro field, you know, you still get the opportunity and blessed with the opportunity, but you on that, like you kind of like how I was in the NBA. You know, I'm on the bottom of the roster. I'm fighting my way to make a roster, to make the team come the halfway mark is certain little benchmarks that like the average player or the average fan, the average person don't understand. And that kind of like does something to the mental. So can you kind of like just walk us through, like you said, in your childhood, you had to reinvent yourself and then, you know, just constantly working on yourself. Like just, I want to kind of tap into that mental, you know what I'm saying, mentality that you kind of have to adapt.
Yeah. I mean, I mean, that's probably what's brought me to where I'm at is, you know, all of those things growing up, playing sports and having to bounce around, and what that's done to my mental approach to sports in general, but, you know, basketball and football, obviously. But yeah, I mean, just being in different situations for me is what kind of set it in stone that, you know, I can do this no matter what the situation looks like, you know, roll the ball on the court or, you know, lace up the cleats, you know, we'll see, you know what I mean? So, you know, growing up being in Annapolis, Maryland in my like middle school years and playing in inner city Baltimore, and, you know, on my, you know, 10 and under AAU team, 12 and under AAU team, and being the man kind of, and watching older guys in that same Lake Clifton basketball court in Baltimore, watching James White and Jared Jack, watching those guys when I was just a jit, you know, those are the memories that I have sports wise that I really love to connect with, you know, and that's what pushes me, you know, all you guys played AAU ball and know what it's like to, you know, have to step out on the court when you know the other team is, you know, taller and bigger and supposed to be better, has nicer uniforms, all of that. And you just got to go play. I mean, you got to go play no matter what it comes down to. If you're feeling a little hurt or a little sick, you just got to go play. And that's what I continued to do. And fortunately, I had good people in my corner too, that, you know, when I didn't feel like doing that, when it wasn't that Baltimore, Maryland situation, when it was, you know, my dad coaching at Texas Tech in Lubbock, Texas, and I'm in ninth grade and I'm a young ninth grader, and everybody else is an old ninth grader in Texas, the way they grow them. So I was already undersized, but, you know, I didn't have no hair under my armpits. And we had guys with full mustaches and goatees and everything in ninth grade. So I was, you know, had to try to fit in. And what it came down to was, you know, in a situation like that, it was like, hey, Dad, I don't know if I feel like playing basketball or football. He's like, man, you better get on the court. Let's just go to practice. Let's just go to practice. You step out there, have the ball get on the court, and then we'll see what happens. And, you know, every time I stepped in between the lines, I realized that, you know, God gave me certain abilities that, you know, it didn't really matter the size or strength or speed. You know, some things that God did, you know, when he made me just kind of show through. So yeah, it's really about, you know, if you're confident in your abilities, and even if you're not confident, maybe having some people in your corner that are there to encourage you. But it's about stepping on the court and, you know, stepping on the field and you know, lacing up the cleats every time, you know, whether you feel like it or not. So that's my 2 cents there.
Just accepting the challenge, to basically just being brave enough to just get in, you know,
right.
What I'm saying? That's the hardest part, just starting sometimes.
Right.
You know?
Absolutely.
Yeah.
But it's good to also have those mentors, because I feel like those mentors will help you put you in the right direction too. So they'll let you feel like, oh, yeah, I think I'm ready too. You know, these guys been in my head, so I feel like I'm ready, you know. So that's a good boost too of having good mentors around as well. So that's good. Shout out to you for that and the mentors.
Yeah, absolutely.
Reminds me of the when we had Cedric Ceballos on, and he told us to get an old friend.
Yes.
He said, get an old friend, because they don't want anything from you, but they'll teach you everything.
Absolutely. I mean, and even something like that was a blessing for me growing up that not a lot of people have, is just access. My dad was a college football coach, so I was always I was in the locker room, after a game. I was, up close on the sideline sometimes watching, Division I football and seeing the speed up close and
watching a film probably or
watching
yeah,
doing,
you know what I'm saying? So,
drawing plays with my older brother. So yeah,
that's
doing
the
all
advantage. That's an advantage in itself right there.
Right.
Being able to break down and knowing the terminology and just knowing where to be at all time. Like,
right.
That's definitely an advantage.
And like as a non-athlete, like that's something I didn't realize until I got like up close and personal with the big three, and like seeing the difference in levels between professional and non-professional sports up close. It is like insanely different. We were in Chicago and I went to a private workout with Mike, and he did this like at this gym, and he was just doing shoot arounds, and it's just like the level of his shoot around versus the level of like a normal person's what would be shoot around is crazy. Like you didn't walk the entire time. I was like, this is not a shoot around. Like, what is this? It was like a full workout. And that's something I didn't really grasp. So like for like the non-professional athletes out there, like appreciate and like respect what these guys are actually putting forward to like get to the level they are. Cause it is a full-time job. Like I think that gets overlooked. Like that's something myself, I didn't understand until I started like making these connections and like having these conversations. So for the listeners out there, like that's something y'all got to understand.
It's like real superhero stuff, It's like when you see somebody go above and beyond, and the average person is like, oh my God, like, they're already. I could never do that, but it's like in the mind of an athlete, and us on here, it's just like we will never stop until we accomplish what we set out to do, and by any means necessary.
All right, so let's run it back to draft night. You go undrafted, like you say, and then you end up getting signed by the Browns as an undrafted free agent. What's kind of going through your mind there? Do you feel like you've made it? Kind of walk us through that process.
No is the answer. No, I don't feel like I've made it. But I go to the Browns. In retrospect, I mean, obviously it played out all right, but the Browns actually drafted 2 receivers that year. So it probably would have been smarter of me to go to a team that just didn't draft any receivers. It would be a little easier to make the team maybe, but yeah, I get out to Cleveland. It's interesting to, move on from college. And for me in college, I was at Penn State where my family lived also because my dad was coaching. So it's interesting to completely, move on from knowing anyone at all. And, talk about reinventing yourself. You can definitely do that as a rookie in any pro sports league, right? You don't know anybody. You don't know anybody in the town typically. You're just meeting your teammates for the first time. So it was interesting. As far as the football goes itself, I did realize pretty quickly that, I belong here. Like I can compete at this level. There are some things, some hurdles in the way. Like I do need to, get a little stronger and, some of those things. But I mean, ball is ball. And, once you get out on the court or on the field, I quickly was like, okay, you know what? I mean, there's no reason that I can't do this. And what ended up happening in Cleveland for me, I ended up, in preseason football, the undrafted rookie guys, it's really like that 4th preseason game that, you get in and you're playing the whole game. Like you're not getting a break at all. You're playing punt return, you're playing on the kickoff team. And anyways, I did all that and didn't have a great game and ended up getting cut. Go down to Waco, Texas, where my dad had just taken a job at Baylor. And I was there for like 5 weeks, no calls or anything. My rookie year, already cut, thought my career was already over. Was actually just about to get a paper route or something back when they had newspapers. Goodness gracious.
I had a paper route myself.
Right. They probably don't even got those now. But yeah, I was just about to do something for just a little bit of cash. And then the Philadelphia Eagles called me. And the wide receiver coach there actually called me because he had worked out those other 2 receivers at Penn State. He had come up to Penn State to work those guys out to see if they wanted to draft them. And as they were walking out the door to go work out for this Eagles coach, he was like, hey, do you want to tag along too? So I was just kind of tagging along to this workout. A year prior at the time, I was just a body, to give those other two guys a rest for them running through all the drills. And, I ended up being somebody that stuck in his mind, and they signed me. I didn't even need to go work out for the Eagles. I just needed to take a physical, and they signed me on the spot. So that kind of, only 6 months into my NFL career, it kind of reignited my career from being dead. Ended up on their practice squad, and ended up catching my first NFL pass, be it in a preseason game the next year, but my first NFL pass from Michael Vick, which is,
That's
one of
awesome.
my childhood heroes, right? So suited up with Michael Vick, Donovan McNabb, and Kevin Kolb as the quarterbacks back there in Philadelphia. Andy Reid as the head coach. So just a pretty incredible experience that I got to have.
Andy Reid, Andy Reid's from LA. I always see that one picture they had with him, and he was like a fifth grader. He was like 6 feet. Everybody was like 2 feet.
Yeah.
Andy Reid was a big boy. Brilliant mind. Brilliant mind.
Right. Yeah, he's a great coach. He's one of my favorite coaches to play for.
Did you get to keep that first catch ball though?
No, absolutely not. Hey, as an undrafted rookie, depending on what organization you go to, you might be fighting for new socks every week. To be honest,
Wow.
there's some stingy organizations out there. I won't tell you which wouldn't give me a new pair of socks, but,
Wow.
but that happens.
Okay.
Jeez.
I mean, you talked about it already. You did a few months with the Browns. You ultimately get cut off the roster, and then just the undrafted player, you working twice as hard, triple the time as everyone else. Like you said, it was times your mental that you was like, you thought you was out of the league. Just kind of walk us through that again, like that mental strength that you had to keep you motivated, to keep you inspired, to keep you pushing, to even, to not just give up at that moment because, possibly could have been over with, but just being able to stick through it.
Right.
Kind of walk us through that mentality.
Yeah. I mean, I think it all comes down to, for me and what I encourage, younger athletes with is, why, like the why. Why are you playing the sport? What's your motivation? Because times are going to get tough. There's going to be injuries. Somebody's going to start when you think you should be starting. Somebody's going to get the MVP when you think you should get the MVP. You're going to need to fall back on some sort of foundation of, what is this reason? Even when you get to the NFL, even when you get to the NBA, practices are hard. Those shoot-arounds are hard. Workouts are hard. And if my first NFL training camp was hard, and you really need to have a foundation, a motivational piece of, and sit down and think about it. Why am I actually putting myself through this pain? Because in a lot of instances, the money isn't enough, and in some instances it is. That's the motivation for a lot of guys, and that's fine. For me, it was always my faith and just, honoring God with the, abilities and talents that I felt he blessed me with. If I decided to quit or stop playing or say this is too tough, I felt like that wouldn't be honoring, what I was blessed with. And, and what better way to be able to honor that by being an underdog, right? By saying, dang, this dude had all the cards stacked against him. How did he ran a 4.6 40 and he's 170 pounds and this and that. How did this happen? And for me, I want to be able to sit on that. I'm just blessed, God made it happen because look, a lot of things didn't really fall my way, but a lot of things did also. So it comes down to motivation and that foundational piece of why.
That's like TED Talk level right there. Like
Nah.
that sounded like rehearsed. You said that a couple times. That was good.
Hey, if it's a TED Talk, y'all owe me a couple dollars.
No, but that's the point of the mental minute. You know what I'm saying? Like I think you just engulfed it as well as possible, and that was it.
So you're going between these practice squads, and then you finally kind of land your starting role with Cleveland in 2011, I think it was. What was it like when you finally realized that your hard work paid off? You have this roster spot and you're finally getting some of the snaps you deserved.
It definitely didn't feel like I made it. To be honest, my entire career felt like I was looking over my shoulder, and rightfully so. I mean, in pro sports, they're looking for somebody to replace you all the time. I mean, unless you're, one of the, in football at least, unless you're one of the, top 4 players on the team, then they're looking for somebody that can replace what you're doing for cheaper. And even if I'm already at the cheapest level possible, but yeah, I mean, when I finally got on the playing field in Cleveland, it was incredible. There we didn't win many games, but I was out there. I was realizing again that I can do this, right? I can do this in front of 60, 70,000 people in Cleveland, or on Monday Night Football or Thursday Night Football. But even then, I ended up in 2012, I ended up playing one or two games and getting hurt, and then out of the entire season. In 2013, the following year, I ended up getting cut by Cleveland and then not even getting picked up at all. So 2012 and 13, I was pretty much out of football completely. And then 2014, Denver signed me, and I'm doing great in training camp. Peyton Manning's pulling me aside and saying, hey, I want you to run the route this way. And if Peyton's pulling you aside, that means there's some intent. There's some intention there. He's not just
Omaha,
right. But that, I mean, so that training camp's going well. Then I end up tearing my ACL in training camp. So I mean, 2012, 13, and 14, 3 consecutive years I'm out of football. And so going into 2015, coming off of ACL, I'm like, let's just try to make this football team. And I think that's probably the point, honestly. And that's year 6 for me, or 7. That's probably the point where I ran out on the field with, Peyton at quarterback, Emmanuel Sanders at the other receiver, and Demaryius Thomas at the other receiver, and starting the very first play of the very first game of the season. That was probably the point when I was like, okay, I'm on a team where this organization, this group of guys definitely want me to be here as a part of this team. And then we won a Super Bowl that year. So there you go, I guess. But yeah, it was definitely a long road.
So during that process, when you were injured, like, what was it like when you had to come back from injury? Like, what was your mental process like? How did you stay motivated? How did you stay ready?
Yeah. At that point in my career, fortunately, I had that foundation piece, like in my own brain and heart, kind of set in stone. I knew my reason for being in the NFL. If I would have torn my ACL, year 1 or 2, honestly, I probably just would have been like, let's just rehab this thing and then keep it moving. I just didn't have that foundational, answer to that question, why, as much as I did at year 6. And so for me, when I tore my ACL here in Denver in year 6 or year 5, it was immediately like, I don't know what you're doing with this, God, but something's going to be made good of this, ACL. I'm going to do something on this knee that's going to be, something that I never would have been able to do before. So that's kind of what my mental was. As I attack, first you have to have surgery. So having surgery and then the rehab from the surgery and, getting back to being able to cut and all those things. I had this, very open expectation of, this God that had been so good to me over my 30-year, sports career to really show up and do something. And for me, I define that as the Super Bowl. And I had a pretty big play in the Super Bowl that honestly, I had no business even being a part of that play, much less.
No, let's not talk about it yet. Let's not talk about it yet. We got some good things for it. So we got to hold you for that for 1 second.
Say less.
But yeah, no, absolutely. But to have that strong mentality and to keep believing and to keep having that faith. Yeah. That's what's big. And kudos to you for that, for sure. But yeah, we're coming down with that down the line. Just give a couple more questions.
You got it.
But I do want to talk about that that Super Bowl win, coming back healthy, it's kind of crazy watching your career progress, right? It's like you're fighting for these roster spots on the practice squads. You get solid roles with Cleveland and then Denver, and then you win a Super Bowl. Like, it's just crazy to see your progression just constantly go up. What was it like, experiencing that Super Bowl win, like, especially for you, knowing that how hard you fought to just get there and even be there? And then, obviously you had that amazing record-setting punt return, which was wild. If you have not watched that, go watch on YouTube. I cannot put it in here because I'll get copyright strike. But like, walk us through that experience. Like, that just must be like an amazing feeling for you, like knowing everything you went through.
Yeah, I mean, it was incredible. Like you said, coming from, my 3 or 4 years in Cleveland and Philadelphia, where, I just happened to play with probably 15, maybe 20 quarterbacks, within those, just a lot of turnover, a lot of, being a part of organizations, or specifically Cleveland, an organization that was just trying to find the right formula. Guys were getting cut, left and right if they made a bad play. And, to be a part of, the Broncos organization and ultimately just go to the Super Bowl was, something that I obviously never thought would happen. And so getting there was incredible. I remember, arriving in San Francisco, with the squad. First thing we did was have a cocktail hour. This is the week,
Nice.
2 weeks, a week and a half before the game. So, we get there, we have a cocktail hour, and then we go out. We have this party bus. Peyton Manning's on the bus. We're all on, the whole offense is on the bus. We're just, hopping around bars and just having a great time. And at that point in my career, I didn't drink much at all. And so that night I was drinking, and for some reason, this is my number one memory of Super Bowl week is, going out with the fellas. And then the next day we had practice the next day, and I was just throwing up, on the practice field in the corner, everybody just laughing at me because they know I'm not the guy that's, out drinking and stuff. But it's just those type of, non-football, memories and interactions that a lot of guys cherish. Those are the things that make me smile the most, interacting with guys like Emmanuel and Demarius, rest in peace. And, everybody on that team was just incredible. And then the game itself, that's hard to put into words, to be honest. Had my entire family there. My brother flew in from the Philippines, where he was playing basketball. He still is playing basketball. So I don't get to see him very often, but had him there. I think I ended up getting like 26 total tickets to the game and had to pay for them.
Oh,
yeah,
that's horrible.
It was rough. You get a bonus for winning the Super Bowl, but I actually had to pay the Broncos after the Super Bowl. I didn't get a bonus. I had to pay them for my tickets.
That's terrible.
Yeah.
Dang.
That's terrible.
Could be worse.
But you got that ring down.
Yeah.
True. And he showed it to me in Dallas.
Did.
That thing is heavy.
Sure did.
That thing is heavy. But I have to ask, my childhood self would be mad if I didn't. I was the biggest Peyton Manning fan. What was it like kind of playing with him and kind of learning from him? I know you kind of mentioned it earlier when he pulled you aside, like talk about his leadership.
Being from New England?
Oh, I wasn't a Patriots fan growing up. Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah. My dad was a Cowboys fan, and I sure as hell wasn't going to be a Cowboys fan. So I was like 8, and I had Madden, and I was like, let me find a new team. And the Colts were the best team in that Madden that I had. So I was a Colts fan, and then Andrew Luck retired, and I was like, why am I a fan of this team? So then I was a fan of nobody for a while. And I told myself I'd be a Pats fan again once Brady retired or they didn't make the playoffs, because I refused to hop on a bandwagon. So,
okay.
All right. Yeah, I respect that.
Yeah.
I respect it.
But yeah, Peyton Manning, he's the man.
Yeah, no, I agree. And he's exactly like you would think he is. Somebody that people respect whatever comes out of his mouth. Somebody that you can't tell if he's joking or not, also at the same time, just that, dry sense of humor. But he's also just one of these brains. And honestly, it makes me think of Joe Paterno, just one of these minds that intentionally remembers people and events. And, one day he pulled me aside and asked me how my little brother's wrist was doing, because my little brother was playing football at Baylor at the time, and he had sprained his wrist, and, he missed the game that week. And I actually didn't know that about my brother. And I was like, I don't know, how's his wrist doing? Like, why? Do you know something I don't know? But yeah, he's just somebody that, paid attention and thoughtfully approached conversations and friendships and all that. So yes, another relationship that I always cherish.
Awesome.
All right. Hopping in on this next spot that we got, life after sports. You kind of found success in creating an NFT community, the Whitelist. How did you get into that space? And can you kind of like walk us through that process, just how you started to find this NFT community?
Yeah. So towards the end of my NFL career, I started getting into, basically cryptocurrencies and, understanding what investing in cryptocurrency can look like and what blockchain technology is. So that was, 2016 or so that I was first introduced to crypto in a way that made me want to interact with it. So from there, I guess that's, it's almost 7 years ago now. But from there, as I transitioned out of football, I'm trying to figure out what's next. I was always a creative person. Went to Penn State for advertising and graphic design. So always into graphic design and photography. Actually started a photography business when I retired from the NFL in 2017, which I still do some photography, honestly, but it's kind of, the meeting place of blockchain and crypto and graphic design and being a creative. And then along with being, a collector, I'm somebody that grew up collecting trading cards and, sneakers, all of that, having those mindsets of a collector and a creative, and now introduce crypto, and the outcome is NFTs, basically. Right. That's what non-fungible tokens are collectibles. In some cases, collectibles that sit on the blockchain. So that's how I got into the space. And really, I just, saw the potential for a community that was based on, opportunities for sports and sports interactions, events, and travel events and interactions, and decided to launch the Whitelist back in October 2021. So it's been good.
So the Whitelist is basically, can you kind of walk us down what exactly is the Whitelist, and talk about, buying a big three team and power and everything like that?
Yeah, absolutely. So the Whitelist is a brand and a membership. Probably the best way to describe it is to leave the word NFT out of it, because that part is honestly kind of tangential to the point. The point of the Whitelist is to be a membership, a community of individuals that are gathered around a certain cause or topic. And for us, it's sports and travel. It's not necessarily a group of athletes. There's a lot of athletes involved. Our members range from myself, my older brother who's still playing basketball overseas, to TJ Ward, Cody Latimer, Joe Hayden, other guys that are, currently playing in the NFL or had played in the NFL, make up our membership. But everyone else is, just people from all over the world that are interested in sports. And when we launched the Whitelist last year and into early this year, we were like, what if at some point we can own a sports franchise? And while we said this and dreamt this, we thought, maybe that would be, years down the road, maybe the opportunity to be a minority owner of a, NFL or NBA team would present itself. But yeah, one of the really cool things about memberships and specifically NFT memberships is you have this, what we call a community wallet, or it's basically a treasury that the community, the group of people in this membership can vote on. So we have this wallet, we have it basically a war chest that's ready to invest in travel. We can invest in real estate that our members can visit, houses in certain destinations. It can invest wherever it wants, wherever the community wants that money to go, it can go. And that's when the Big Three opportunity presented itself, which I think is ahead of its time. I think ownership via non-fungible tokens makes a lot of sense. And I can try to dig into why I think that if you have a couple hours, but yeah, that opportunity presented itself, and something that we thought might be 5 or 10 years down the road turned into 6 months down the road, and we were able to jump in and buy the necessary NFTs to own the Big Three power team.
And I will say, like, a year ago at this time, like, if you asked me about NFTs, I would have thought they were like the dumbest thing. I didn't understand them, and that was because of my lack of research.
I was trying to, you know what I'm saying? Actually,
that's a different story, but we'll go back to
a year ago.
That's a different story. We'll go back to that.
Yeah, Jay, what the hell, man?
Missed out.
But once the Big Three started doing everything with it, I started like doing my research, and I run some of the social media accounts in the Big Three. And I remember, and I won't say which ones aside from Power, obviously, because that's what we're talking about. But I remember Power being bought, and the engagement was just crazy with all of like the ace holders and everything, and just them being active with like social media. I was like, no better time to get involved in NFTs right now, I guess. And I remember it was right after week 1. I was literally still in my hotel room in Chicago. I was trying to like figure out MetaMask and download all these. I had no idea what I was doing, but I ended up buying one of the NFTs for the whitelist. That they're called Aces, and now I have 2. But like that community has just been like insane to like interact with. Everyone's amazing. Like they're so helpful. Like they do giveaways. They do like Ethereum giveaways. They do like poker nights where you can win Ethereum, or like other NFTs in general. They do like a lot of collabs with different like other NFT communities. MetaFans is a big one. I know you guys have been doing some stuff with lately. You guys do like raffles for like trips. You just did 2, right? It was one in Portugal, right?
Yeah, I think we've done a total maybe of 5 raffles for trips, and that's through a partner of ours called Inspirato. But yeah, I mean, we're looking for ways to bring value to a community of people through sports and travel specifically. So I mean, it's a lot of fun. Obviously you're already having fun, and it's an interesting. I mean, it's a super low entry point. For one thing, I mean, you can buy one of our NFTs for, I haven't looked today, but let's call it. The floor was
0.04 last night.
Geez, I mean, it blows my mind, to be honest. But it's just a really cool space, and being able to be a part of a membership where if for some reason you feel like you're not getting value out of the membership, you can sell that membership. Is something that hasn't necessarily been done. I mean, that's not how a credit card membership works. I can't sell my American Express to you when I'm unhappy with it. I also can't call up American Express and say, hey, what does your, bank accounts look like? Can we buy a Big Three basketball team? So, I mean, it's just a really cool way to do membership. It's also really interesting because like Jordan said, the price of our membership is, in my mind, it's low, but that's not my responsibility at this point. I don't have any memberships to sell. We sold out all of our memberships back in January. We sold out all 10,000 memberships. So the people who are selling them now are people who don't want the membership anymore. And it's most likely because it didn't turn into a Bored Ape Yacht Club NFT within 10 days. So, I mean, that's the speculation that goes on in the NFT space, but still, I mean, it's a lot of fun. We're continuously looking for ways to provide value to our members.
Yeah, the utility for it is just crazy. I mean, just for our listeners, like, how would you recommend like they could get aced in, as you call it, or how could they become part of this?
I think the most interesting way to engage with the community is, through the Discord app. Which is a chat app that a lot of gamers use, and the NFT community uses it a lot now too. And so if you go to the whitelist.io, our website, you can find the link to our Discord, and you can see some of these people that Jordan was mentioning that just, it's fun to engage with. if you, I mean, I was about to say you, Mike, but if you go in there this week, you might get they might not want you. They might not want you in there this week, but
Mike, now may be a perfect time to do it though.
That would be
intel.
I mean, so me and Jordan been going back and forth. I missed you one day in Dallas. I was supposed to come upstairs and interact with you because I'm trying to, get into the NFT and trying to create a community and everything like that. So there's a lot of questions that I kind of want to, ask you because my wheels is spinning now. So, after this, get your contact or whatever and kind of, start to, get into that space because it's very, very interesting. And just because we was, playing you guys this week, I was like, I'm about to get into that community, but I was like, hold on.
We'll wait.
Yeah, we'll gotta wait a week.
I gotta wait 2 weeks now, depending on the results of the match. You know what I'm saying? I might buy one right after the game, or I might have to wait a week.
Mike, I could see you winning and then buying one and just going in and talking trash right away.
I won't talk trash, but I'll be a part of the community. So
yeah.
Well, I'm about to buy power. No.
Actually, Isaiah Austin owns a few of our NFTs.
Okay.
So that's cool.
So that's actually initially how I got plugged in with the big three and tracking down the right people to make this transaction happen. I hit Isaiah. He already owned some of our NFTs. I was like, hey, who's at the big three that I can talk to about buying a team because we want to do it. And so initially we were looking at the enemies, and then I think they got that happen, as we were starting our conversations. So Coutinho is somebody that I grew up watching. He's actually part of the reason my older brother wears number 5 is in part because of Coutinho. So seemed like a natural fit.
Yeah,
it's awesome.
Shout out Coutinho Mobley, man, great guy.
Coutinho was my vet when I was playing with the Clippers. That was my vet, and man, I learned the work ethic. Like I learned that seriously from him. Every day, he was in the gym. I'm a rookie, so we got to be there 3.5, 4 hours before everybody. He already in there sweating. I'm like, I'm insulted because I'm trying to be the first one in the gym, and he there sweating already. So I'm like, hold on. I get in there, I'll play him one-on-one every day. And
that's dope.
I probably never won for a whole year. Never won.
And he's still in the gym.
Yeah, still.
Right. Motivating now.
For sure. So
highest form.
Just to see it, shout out to Cat, but
big shout out to Cat.
Yeah. That's all the respect I got for him.
That's what's up. No, I wish I could make it to Dallas this week, but I'm gonna let you know if I make it, the week after, or if I catch you in Bermuda or whatever.
Yeah, for sure. So where we at with it now?
We hitting the segments, man. We at the end, man. We only got a few questions left, and now we could talk about this famous punt return. Finally, this segment is called Rhinos Vision. Now, Rhinos Vision, I just always like, especially for you, Jordan, right now, to break down that 61-yard record Super Bowl punt return. Can you just walk us through the play? I know you already said some cool stuff already, you didn't know you were supposed to be a part of the play. So just kind of break it down for the viewer to try to let them know a little bit of insight of how it felt smoking them fools.
Yeah, I mean, it's definitely it's wild just because, I mean, what I was getting to before was just kind of the way my NFL career went, or even in college too. I was never a punt returner. I was always a backup punt returner who would, catch a few balls during practice just in case the starter went down. But in 4 years of college football, I think I was back there punt returning twice. And in the NFL, probably twice at that point too, after 7 years. And in the Super Bowl specifically, I wasn't the starting punt returner either. Right before that play, Emmanuel Sanders just, tapped me on the shoulder hey, man, you want to go back and get this one? And I'm like, what am I going to say? No. Yeah, sure. I don't have the jurisdiction to go tell the coach that I'm in the game. So I'm like, Emmanuel, go tell the coach that I'm going to go back there, and boom, boom. So Emmanuel tells the special teams coach that Jordan's going to get this one. The play is actually for a block punt, to try to block the punt. So I'm not going to have much blocking. Everybody's rushing the punter. So nobody's going to be running back trying to block for me to have any type of return. And you'll see all of that if you watch the play on YouTube. It was a high punt. I thought I saw the gunners, who are the two guys that run down the field the fastest on the punt team. I thought I saw them both kind of run past me, and then kind of lost vision of them. And the ball just hung up there a little bit longer than anticipated. At the point that I felt like I should have done a fair catch, it was kind of too late to try to put my hand up and get it back down to catch the ball. So I was like, I'll just rock with it, and just catch this one and probably get tackled right away. But I catch the punt. Nobody had blocked for me. So there's like 6 guys around me from the Carolina Panthers. There's so many guys around me, basically, that everybody thinks that I had fair caught the ball and that they're not allowed to tackle me. But obviously I didn't fair catch it and just caught the ball and just, took off around the corner. And going into the game, our special teams coach is just harping on us. We're going to take a punt back for a touchdown. Nobody has ever ran a punt back for a touchdown in a Super Bowl ever. And we're going to do it. And so that's my mental state while I'm running down the sideline. I'm like, dang, I think I'm going to get there. Long story short, I actually don't score a touchdown. So it's the longest punt return in Super Bowl history. But I didn't score. I got tackled on the 10-yard line. So that was part of my mental, was my coach saying that. And if you watch the clip, you'll see this coach just running down the sideline, and that's him, Coach D. But yeah, I mean, just a crazy play, all the way from the reason why I was on the field to the play call not being a play call that is meant for a punt return at all. And then for me personally, it was the whole fruition of my ACL. I mean, it's a whole nother God story for me on running down the field for that play. So
for sure.
Yeah. So that's an NFL record, huh?
Yeah, it's a Super Bowl record.
Super Bowl record.
Yeah.
Still standing. It ain't been broken yet, huh?
Not yet.
That'll never be broken.
Yet. Yeah, I don't think so.
No way.
Yeah, people just don't take the chances, punt return chances.
For sure.
Especially in the Super Bowl. No.
Yeah.
Sure.
So we'll see.
All right, we'll jump into the next one. We got Give a Dog a Bone. It's just a bunch of rapid fire questions for our audience to get to know you a little bit better.
All right.
We'll start off for the Underdogs podcast. We got to know what your favorite dog breed is.
Oh man, it's an Australian Labradoodle.
Ooh, okay, I like it.
That's our little puppy, Nelly.
Nice. All right,
Nelly.
Favorite musical artist?
Oh man, I'm gonna go with Clips. Old school.
Okay.
Players, we ain't the same. I'm with the cane and guns. Yeah.
All right. Favorite song?
Sheesh.
That's a hard
I'm gonna have to go with Smooth Operator.
Hey.
Sade.
Ooh.
Okay. Right. I saw in another interview that you call yourself a sneakerhead, so we wanted to know what your favorite shoe is.
Oh man, that's a great question. My favorite sneaker is Air Jordan 4 Dornbachers.
Ooh.
Did you have a favorite city to play in?
Denver. Yeah.
Do you have a favorite hobby outside of basketball / NFTs or football / NFTs?
Now it's been golf for the past 2 years.
Okay.
Yeah.
That's a sport I wish I was good at. I'm so bad.
I'm learning.
Me too. I'm trying
to learn.
Join the club.
All right. So you played in a lot of different situations where you're a wide receiver, punt returner. Did you have a guy that you'd kind of mark on your calendar as someone that was a great defender versus you, or you knew you had to work extra hard in practice that week?
Oh man, there's a few. Chris Harris Jr. is probably the first that comes to mind. Asante Samuel, when I was in Philadelphia, was somebody that I had problems with. Yeah, those are probably the first two to come to mind. Aqib Talib also.
Okay.
Yeah.
Did you have a least favorite city or stadium to play in?
I didn't like playing Qualcomm Stadium in San Diego. They don't play there anymore, but it's an old stadium.
Yeah.
And you felt like you were gonna, twist an ankle or something all the time. So
this next one, Mike and Craig have been giving me movie recommendations to watch. Do you have a favorite movie that I should check out?
have you seen Parasite?
No.
That movie's off the chain.
All right, adding that to the list.
Is
that like a horror movie? That sounds like a horror movie.
It's a thriller for sure. Have y'all seen Parasite?
Yeah.
Yeah, it's if you don't mind reading subtitles or captions.
Yeah.
I watch Squid Game, so I can do it.
Okay, there you go.
Let's see. Who's an underrated quarterback that you played with?
An underrated quarterback.
Like a guy that doesn't get the respect he should.
Sure. I'm gonna go with Colt McCoy.
He's been in a lot of quarterback rooms. His knowledge must be off the chain.
Yeah, he's a great quarterback, great leader. I don't think he gets the respect he should, but I mean, I know he does if he goes back down to Austin, Texas. But in the NFL, I think he's a gem. I think he's still playing.
Wow. Okay.
Yeah.
All right. Do you have a favorite current player?
The first person that comes to mind is KJ Hamler. He's a wide receiver for the Denver Broncos, and he's also a Penn Stater. So okay. I'm gonna go with KJ.
So no bias there, right?
No bias at all.
Okay. Do you have a favorite all-time player?
Favorite all-time NFL? It's an odd one, and he didn't have much of an NFL career. Actually, he was more of my favorite all-time college player. But Peter Warrick, who was a wide receiver for Florida State. Back in the day. But Peter Warrick.
If you could, is there anything you'd change about your career?
No, absolutely not. I think, I was able to retire on my own accord, which a lot of guys can't say for one reason or another. So no, I wouldn't change anything.
What's something you wish fans knew or understood better?
I think we kind of touched on it, just the level of dedication that it takes to, perform at, not only perform at the professional level, but succeed and make a basketball team or make a football team. It's just so much more than, being good at basketball or great at basketball or football. I mean, there's so much, mental, strength that you have to have, business acumen, even. There's just a lot that goes into it that's, outside of physical ability.
And I usually end it there, but I had to throw this one in. Me and my friends have been having this debate forever, but we're not professional athletes. And this is kind of for all of you, since we have NBA players and NFL players. What do you guys think is harder, scoring a basket in an NBA game or scoring a touchdown from the 1 yard line in the NFL? And I have my answer, but obviously I'm not qualified to answer it at all, but I'm curious what you guys think, because you guys are actually in that situation.
I think I'm going to say that scoring a basket in the NBA is tougher.
Really? Okay. See, I would have thought it was touchdown. I feel like maybe you could get lucky in the NBA.
Yeah, and I want your input on that. Why do you think that, though, being an NFL player? Because then I feel like we'll go and take turns.
Well, I think the transition from basketball player to football player, first of all, generally is more likely. Mm-hmm. I think if you're athletic, if you're the only piece that needs to be there is toughness. If you're a good basketball player and you're tough, then there's somewhere on the football field for you, because you most likely have hand-eye coordination, you can catch the ball. Now, football players playing basketball, they might not be able to hit the backboard, and I've seen a lot of it. So I think just that general transition is easier from football going to basketball.
And I guess it's for football, right? If you're at the 1 yard line, it's almost like you're getting a gang of screens for you to have access to get inside. Versus if you're there for that layup, I would say, depending on, because it's all about muscle memory, right? So yeah, it can be easy to go up, but then in my mind it goes, when you're in the league, there's somebody there.
Yeah, and that gap,
mental.
That gap closes real quick.
That gap closes fast. you can second guess yourself very quickly off that, like by mistiming it, off the angle. So sometimes it's tough because it seemed like if I got a gang of screens for me and I just walk in,
you also got like 400-pound humans coming after you too. Don't forget about that. Like,
yeah, that's true. That's true too. But you got a giraffe coming after you, or the Greek freak.
Right.
Nah, that's
But that's a good one though. That is tough. It is tough.
Awesome, Craig. It's up to you.
What is your funniest moment in the NFL?
Oh man, my funniest moment, other than me throwing up on the practice field.
Yeah.
It probably wasn't that funny at the time, but when I was a rookie in Cleveland, our coach Eric Mangini, he put us, the rookies, on a bus from Cleveland to Connecticut to coach his football camp. All right, his like personal football camp.
A bus from Cleveland to.
So he puts us on this bus from Cleveland to Connecticut.
Like 24 hours, huh?
It was a long ways. Some of the draft picks, some of their agents got mad, rightfully so. So on the way back from Connecticut, somebody gave us like a gift bag and it had a bunch of beers in it. So he gives us these beers, and I'm saying I'm assuming that Coach Mangini was a part of the squad that gave us the beers. And long story short, guys back there drink the beers back there. I mean, on the back of the bus, drink the beers. The bus slams on the brakes, and like 40 beers just roll on the ground to the front of the bus. And Coach Mangini's riding the bus with us at that point because people's agents got mad. Yeah. And a couple guys walked to the front of the bus to say something about the beers rolling up. They're pretty drunk at that point. And after giving them the beers, Coach Mangini cut those two guys.
Oh no.
Maybe that's not the reason why, but those two, they were not on the Cleveland Browns soon after that bus trip. And maybe that's not that funny, but I thought it was
that's cold.
Yeah.
Cold.
Yeah, that's a cold setup.
Yeah, it was funnier as I was thinking about it.
No, it's still funny because it's like, I'm gonna see who bait on these beers real quick.
Exactly.
That's like an old school trick.
Right, exactly.
Yeah. Oh my God, it's classic though. Like, we need to cut somebody. All right, let's do the beer routine.
Right.
The beer ride.
Hit the brakes. Hit the brakes on the bus.
Hit the brakes right now. Yeah. Yeah. That's hilarious. Wow. Yeah, I'm sorry for those two, but I mean, like, you should know, like, if you hitting it, like, being a professional, alcohol around coaches, like, what's going on here? You know? Yeah. But, when you're young, we got to have learning lessons. So,
right. Yeah.
All right. We'll end off the episode as we do each week. What is the biggest lesson you learned throughout your entire journey?
Oh man, I think the biggest lesson I've learned is to keep putting myself like out there, to keep taking a step forward. I think I found myself a few times just at a stalemate where I didn't know what to do. But you just got to take a step forward with whatever you think is right at the time, because otherwise you can just sit there, in that stalemate for a long, long time. So keep moving forward.
Awesome.
Absolutely.
That's going to do it for episode 17 of the Underdogs podcast. As always, my name is Jordan Daly. We have Mike Taylor, Craig Smith, Jordan Norwood. Thanks again for coming on with us. See you guys next week.